The Autism Society of America was founded in 1965, mainly by a group of wonderful parents who, at the time, when their sons or daughters, and mostly the sons, were diagnosed, they were told by their doctors to institutionalize their child. And they said no, just because they had autism, that was not a cause for them to have to be institutionalized. And they found parents of similar nature, they found professionals, and began to what we are today, now 53 years old, and remain the largest and most effective grassroots organization in the autism field.
We're really there on the ground supporting these families, one at a time, and providing supports and structure to where they're not feeling so isolated. Autism can be very isolating.
The fact that they encompass everything, and that you have the advocacy, but then they have the grassroots and the activities and the networking. I'm very grateful for the information, the resources, the connections, the networking.
We can relax as parents, and we can be around people that understand also. And there's no judgment, there's just comfort there.
They don't hand you a manual that says, your child has autism, this is what you do now. They kind of just threw us out into the world, and we didn't know what to do next. And then I got involved in the Autism Society by coming to events.
I believe one of the very first things we attended of theirs was a trick or sweets that they do every year for Halloween, and they really got to be themselves. I didn't have to continually coach them on what to say. They could enjoy it the way they wanted to enjoy it.
The Autism Society sees things differently because they really do care about the whole family as a unit. Autism may make you a little different, but it's not less.
I have an autistic perspective, but it's also a very unique perspective. It's not just the people and how people interact with us. It's the way the whole society is structured. It's the way the language is structured. It is the way traditions and values and architecture and everything is neurotypical.
They deserve to be understood and respected just like everyone else. The way for others to support people with autism is to be educated.
We want to educate people that because someone has this condition called autism, that is not a reason to deny that person any options of life.
I don't need this information over here as much as how do I navigate these waters. It's a hard issue that the Autism Society comes at it from a heart level perspective. What can we do for you? What do you need? How can we help you?
Hello, I'm Hasson Rashid, and I'm here with you once again. It's excellent being here with you, and it's also a good achievement to come into your lives like we do here daily at the CCTV. You know, it's still National Autism Month, and you know, the City Hall is lit up in blue, so if you get the opportunity, you're in the area of Central Square, you better just stop by the City Hall and see how they have lit in the City Hall up in blue in commemoration of National Autism Month. Okay, if time permits, we're going to try to get back to that video. Once again, I'm Hasson Rashid, and this is your Human Service News and Information news broadcast, and I'll be here with you for approximately 25 more minutes, you know. And with that, I extend an international cordial out to you. Peace, peace, peace be unto you. Okay, I like to, before we get into the subject before we get into our broadcast today, I'd like to remind you that the big event is on. It's still on. That's March 20, excuse me, that's April 24th. That's the big night here at CCTV. That's the night of the annual CCTV's meeting. They'll have entertainment. They'll have guest speakers from all over Cambridge, etc., etc. They'll have music, and they'll have, of course, they'll have food. And this is the night that they elect their members to the board of directors. So you make sure you get on out there and join us here at CCTV April 24th. I think all the activities start around traditionally, normally it's been starting around 6:30. Excuse me. I don't think that that's changed this year. It's gonna they're gonna start around 5 or 6:30. So to be sure, you can call CCTV, you can call someone here and get enlightened on exactly what time to show up for CCTV's annual meeting. That's 617-661-6900. And you tell them you heard it right here on your Human Service News and Information with your host, Hasson Rashid, okay? Okay, so once again, that's the big annual night. I mean, the big night here, the night of the annual meeting. Board nominees will present themselves to the membership for consideration, and a vote will be held. And that's not all. They'll be transpiring at that event. They'll be having food, they'll be having music, and you might see some of your neighbors. A lot of good camaraderie, fellowship. So you make sure you get on out there at the annual meeting, April 24th. So if you need information about anything, you can call 617-661-6900. That's CCTV's annual meeting. So don't forget now, my good friend Morris Wilkie, I think that's his name. I think he's running for a board position. I wish him all the luck in the world. Okay, all right. Okay, before we go any further, I'd like to tell you a little story. When I came to CCTV about 10 years ago, 10 years ago, I enrolled in a course entitled Citizen Media. No, not Citizen Media. I take that back. It was a neighbor media program here, and they had Nicole Ballinger. She was running it then. She was here, and this was citizen journalism. We're studying to be citizen journalists, And I completed the course, but she left, and the course changed hands. So after that, I left. I don't know what happened after that, but I want to tell you a little story. I was in the city hall covering a story for the program, and the mayor's assistant came up to me. I had, my little video. They give you a little video cam. You take pictures, video footage, and you can write your story up and submit it on your blog, publish it. And the mayor, one of the mayor's aides came up to me. She was assistant, and she said I had no right to be there doing what I was doing. And I told her, I said, well, look, I'm a citizen journalist. I'm studying it, and I have all my First Amendment rights. The First Amendment guarantees me the right to do what I'm doing here. And with that, she backed off. She know I had a reason. I had a good reason for being there. But what I want to say is that the First Amendment provided me the right to be there. And that's what I want to share this next video. This video was taken from the Night Media Forum, 2019, held in Detroit. And it was one of the, some video footage was captured of the First Amendment section. And I want to share some of that news with you. That's just from the Night Media Forum that was held earlier this year in Detroit. And it's all about this was a session was on First Amendment rights. Okay, so this is, I think this was Public Access TV in Detroit that captured this video footage for the Knight Foundation. So I want to share some of this with you, and this will support my story and all of the other citizen journalists who are out there in the community now doing what they're doing. That's covering stories, and they have a First Amendment right to do so. Okay, here we go.
My name is Jim DeFede. I'm with the CBS station here in Miami, and I'm very happy that Alberto Ibargüen asked me to take part in this foundation, on this panel, and amazing work being done here today. Thank you very much for attending. I have the honor of introducing Grant Oliphant, president of the Heinz Endowment. I was going to try to make a joke about ketchup slowly coming out of bottles, but money flowing from the endowment. I'm still working on it. Now, Grant has been a positive force in philanthropy and public service realms for nearly 3 decades. He's written and spoken extensively on issues of equality, race, social justice, and has been a strong and effective advocate for the critical role of journalism and media industry entrepreneurship in local communities nationally. He's developed a widespread following for his podcast, We Can Be. A former journalist, Mr. Alfon previously served as press secretary for Senator John Hines, and for nearly 20 years held senior management posts with the Hines Family Foundations. And I would be remiss not to acknowledge his father, Patrick Alfon, the Pulitzer Prize winning editorial cartoonist whose work is just phenomenal. So without much further ado, Grant Alfon. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
So thank you, everyone. I want to start off by saying there are a lot of heroes in this room for me. Journalists who are doing the hard work of telling the stories of our society, librarians who are creating meeting grounds for that society to come together and to learn together, foundations that are working in this complicated space that I frankly come to think of as the whole Knight package. You know, the package that the Knight Foundation has put together around libraries and information and media and journalism and engaged community. And so I want to thank all of you in this room who are doing this work, and I especially want to single out Alberto before I forget, and the Knight Foundation, if you would give them a round of applause. Now, I partly did that because I'm going to, in my remarks, refer to the whole Knight package in kind of a fuzzy way, and I want you to know that what I'm talking about is all of the things that are embodied in that. And I apologize in advance. I just got back from Australia, and if it appears that I am jet lagged, I am. Worse than I've ever had in my life. This is the first time I've been back to Australia since I was 10 years old. So do the math, it's a long time. I was born there in Adelaide, Australia, and everybody tells me I would be a whole lot cooler if I still had the accent, which I really got when I was there. But what I had on this trip was the opportunity to meet a whole bunch of family that I never knew, and in particular to meet a friend of my dad's who worked with him back when he started his career, and he told me a story that I've got to share with this audience. So he told me a story about my dad when he was just starting out as an apprentice cartoonist. He was 19 years old, he was working at his very first newspaper, and within the smallest amount of time imaginable, managed to get into an argument with his boss. And it must have been a doozy of an argument, because his boss declared that no Oliphant cartoon would ever again appear in any publication that he controlled. And what I love about that story is that that boss was Rupert Murdoch. And this may be apropos of nothing, but it's a great story. But it also at least tells you something, that it is possible to speak truth to power and survive. And that's a little bit of the theme of what I want to address with you today. I want to start off by looking at Pittsburgh. I want to talk about the trends that I see happening in other communities like us all around the country. And then how I think the work we're talking about here comes into play in responding to that. Really, think of this conversation as about purpose. Why are we here having the complicated conversations, and if you listen to Dana's presentation this morning, the kind of scary conversations that we're having? What is the purpose that we're trying to fulfill by doing this work? So let me start with Pittsburgh. In the last 2 or 3 years, it has felt to me at times like Pittsburgh is at this weird, eerie vortex of cosmic relevance in our country. A bizarre set of things that has happened in the community, and just to offer up a few, in the midst of the campaign and presidential rhetoric about enemies of the people with regard to journalists, the publisher of our largest daily decides to fire on the president's birthday the paper's celebrated editorial cartoonist, Rob Rogers. I took that one kind of personally. In the midst of the debate about climate change denial and the relevance of climate change on the national scene, the president decides to declare himself president of Pittsburgh, not Paris. In the midst of America's broken conversation about race, a Pittsburgh artist named Alicia Wormsley puts up an exhibit on a sign in the middle of one of the city's urban neighborhoods that says the following: "There are black people in the future."
Okay, we'll try to get back to that before we go off the air. And that was from the First Amendment session, First Amendment and community session of the recent Night Media Forum, and they talk about First Amendment rights. But unfortunately, we don't have time to listen to the whole video, the whole video footage of it. But they do go into First Amendment rights, and the reason why I brought that up is because they tried to violate my First Amendment rights right here in Cambridge at the City Hall. And while I was, doing a task that involved being a citizen journalism, they say that citizen journalists don't have First Amendment rights. And that's not true. That's a lie. So all of you who out there and you're doing citizen journalist work, don't fret, because you do have First Amendment rights, which guarantees you the right to report, cover stories, report, etc., everything relating to journalism as a mainstream journalism. That's what it is. You're not really a mainstream journalist, and that's the problem. They don't want to acknowledge you that you're part of the equation that involves being a journalist. So don't worry. We're gonna, you are what you are, and a lot of you have trained here at CCTV, and that also qualifies you, gives you First Amendment rights. So don't let nobody tell you different, okay? And tell them you heard it from me, Hasson Rashid. Okay, I want to bring your attention to an event that's coming up April 18th. That's tomorrow at the Cambridge Public Library, and they'll be at the, I think it's the main branch, okay? The main branch of the Cambridge Public Library. That's in the lecture hall. That's a National Poetry Month at the Cambridge Public Library. That's once again National Poetry Month at the Cambridge Public Library. Celebrate National Poetry Month with January Gil O'Neill, author of Misery Island, Kevin Carey Press 214, and winner of 215 Patterson Award for Literary Excellence. Charles Cole, author of Memento Mori, forthcoming, and Romeo Oregon 2017 Bruno International African Poetry Prize winner, and it is an Artist Protection Fund Fellow and resident. And he is, he's an Artist Protection Fund Fellow and resident at Harvard University. The Power International Education, and they'll be help to sponsor this Cambridge Public Library event in the main lecture hall, 449 Broadway. That's tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. So don't you forget to get on out there and acknowledge these people and give them your full attention. That's the National Poetry Month at the Cambridge Public Library. Okay, okay, we still got a little bit more time, and before we go off the air today, I want to remind you that the National Organization of Human Services is holding their national conference in October. So all you all you folks that fall under Human Service MOSAIC, you still have time to register for this event. That's the 2019 National Conference of Human Services, and there'll be a meeting this time, assembling in Orange County, California. That's Orange County, California this year, way out on the West Coast. So you still have time to register for this event if you intend to make plans going west for the National Organization of Human Services annual conference. Okay, so if you like additional information, registration, hotel, etc., you can go to NOHS.org, and they'll have everything there waiting for you. Okay, it's about 5 more minutes before we go off the air here. I want to also bring your attention to Spur Change Your Nose. That's the latest edition. Is out now, and you see the vendors out there, and there are homeless people who sell this paper for $2, and they keep, I guess, $1.50 of that, $2, and that's how they supplement their income, or that's how they support themselves. Homeless people by selling this paper, and it's out there right now, and it'll be there until I guess that's April 25th. This edition is in circulation. And there's several things that caught my mind in this edition. And one of them is the fact that, on the page number, what page is that? That's page number 4. There's an article that talks about, it's entitled, Over 20 Years Rent Control Debate Resurfaces in Massachusetts. You know, they had, once upon a time, they had rent control here in Cambridge, but it was beat down. On the state level, it was just trash. They threw it out, and that meant that it did mean that poor people, low income people, they had some type of break as far as paying rent here, and the rent was not. They had a help in paying rent. Rent control gave them help. It legislated help. Legislative help as far as paying rent, so they weren't paying as much as they are paying today. Rent was cheaper due to rent control, but now the small landowners here in Cambridge and all over the state got together, and they represented a powerful force, and they beat that rent control law, and they took it out of existence. Well, now there's talk about bringing it back. And that's what this article is in this edition of Cambridge, Spare Change News is about. It's entitled, once again, Over 20 Years Rent Control Debate Resurfaces en masse. And I think in the upcoming weeks we're gonna talk about that more extensively when time permits, when we have more time to do so. And okay, so we're gonna just try to open that can of worms again and stimulate more interest in bringing rent control back right here at CCTV. Okay, that's not all I have for you, but time is winding down on us. I have a thing here. Okay, hold on. I got one more thing to debate here. Okay, here we go. Now, a lot of folks here in Cambridge, they don't have a lot of money, a lot of cash to make things make ends meet. But there's one thing that allows them that affords them help in making ends meet. And this is a law that was put in effect, I know, some years ago in Cambridge here. Whereas it's a state law, and the fact that the people are given help in the food stamp program, buying food. They don't pay as much through this program, and it's called SNAP, which took the place of the old food stamp program. So I was wondering, just last week in April, I noticed when the Winter Farmers Market closed, now that was the place where the people would get a discount, a 50% discount on if they had SNAP, if they were beneficiaries of SNAP. If they had $10, they spent $10 at the Winter Farmers Market in food stamp benefits, food stamps, they would get $20 for the $10. So that's a 50% increase in value. And so the Winter Farmers Market closed in April. Okay, they closed in April 6th, but in several weeks the spring farmers market will open again, and they'll have the option of buying food half the price, buying vegetables and fruits, and there are other things that are offered at the spring winter farmers market. So you stay tuned for information on the big opening of the spring, winter's farmers markets. Okay, so they're inviting you to turn $15 of SNAP credit into $30 of market cash every week. So thanks to the generous individual local businesses and the city of Cambridge, they were able to increase the buying power of shoppers who use the federal food assistance known as SNAP. Okay, so once again, for every SNAP dollar you spend at the market, you're given another dollar to spend there also. That's, you spend $1, they'll give you another dollar. So in credit, in produce and merchandise. Okay, so I just want to let you know that you can prepare for that in the upcoming weeks here here at in Cambridge. Okay, so that's a good thing that it's still on the books here. It's not like rent control; they took that off the books. But the SNAP program, you can double your purchase with SNAP, and fortunately, they did not take that off the books for the people here in Cambridge. Those people who are badly in need of food. So you get help with food, but eventually, hopefully, if the talk matures into actual action and enactment and law, once again, they'll be reestablishing rent control here in Cambridge. I'm Hasson Rashid. You know, it's always excellent being here with you, and it's such a great achievement to come to you like we do. So until next time, keep your nose clean, playing straight, and don't forget to assist someone in need of your help.
That sign was ordered to be taken down by the person who controlled the billboard because of pressure that she said she got from the community for a message that she said was political in nature. Grantees